Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and a new edition of our online interview series. We want to get an update of Tier 1 Silver. And with us here today, two gentlemen instead of one. Two is better than one, of course. And we have Peter Dembicki, the CEO here, and Ivan Bebek, the co-founder and chair of the company. Welcome, gentlemen. All good?
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Johan.
Super. Yeah, great to see you guys. Peter, Ivan, was a bit of a time, but hopefully the time was wisely used, as I'm pretty sure, because you have been a bit on the quiet side, but I have a very good feeling that you guys are organizing a lot here for the upcoming months. So maybe a comment on that.
Yeah, for sure, Johan. It has been a bit of time since we last spoke, and great to be back with you again, of course, in person. But really, the market has been it's been a grind out there. There's no secret about that. I think you know, as I've been telling people, my mother tells me all the time I'm special. But as far as the company is concerned, and in the sector that we're concerned, everyone's kind of in the same position. We see some green shoots here and there that show signs of life, but really depending on the broad markets and the direction, and everyone's kind of just waiting to press go or not. And I think we're really close. Even as we speak later today, there could be some big catalysts that really move the market forward, and especially for precious metals. So, you know, Ivan and myself, although we've been quiet on the media front, being on interviews in the background, it's never been busier as far as strategizing for Tier 1 and how we're going to get this thing going again and back on people's radar, because we have two phenomenal projects, one amazing flagship project in Curibaya that we can't wait to get back drilling again, and it's time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Curibaya really is situated and surrounded by a lot of majors, and I think you have Vale is one of your immediate neighbors, right?
Yeah, right next door. And the story is, it's an incredible story how it was acquired. It's an incredible story how the discovery is situated in and amongst some of the largest copper and silver producers in the world. You know, Cerro Verde being only 50, 60 kilometers away, I think it registers as fourth largest mine in the world. And being on this prolific copper porphyry belt in southern Peru is so amenable to making a new discovery. And that's what the country of Peru can bring. You make a wrong turn at a four-way intersection, you could find a 4 billion ton, discovery or a massive silver discovery if you go the other direction. And that's what's so great about exploring in Peru.
Absolutely. So exploration, when will the drills start to turn? I mean, you had already some grab samples and stuff, and which were like 300 kilograms silver, 934 grams gold, that's really awesome. That's elephant territory. That's why you are there, of course. So when will the first drill start to turn?
Yeah, so I mean, given where the markets are at, companies like ourselves, because we're not miners, we're not producers. So we depend on, financing our company to take the next stage and take the next stage of drilling. So we're live right now on a financing. With the money that we get from the proceeds, we can get back to work at Curibaya and bring the drills out. So, one thing this year has provided us is we took a step back and really honed in on these targets. Now, where is our best chance of making that really huge width on the high grades that we've seen already? So we've taken a lot of time, a lot of geology, a lot of technical work to really hone in on these targets. So we feel we've got our hands wrapped around it, and we know that it's time to start drilling, and we can't wait to get back to work instead of talking about it all the time.
Okay, super. So let's assume within the next 2-3 months you can start to drill. That would be great. If we look at Curibaya itself, Ivan, what is like Cambaya, Sambalaya, or what would be, let's say, the target you would like to start to see that? Because I think Tier 1 Silver is your ticket in the silver space.
Yeah,
right?
well, look, it's great to be back, Johan, and you're absolutely right. It's been a remarkable year internally, but an extremely difficult year externally in the share price and silver price, which has started to turn significantly. I think the last time I was on an interview, we were drilling, and we're close to drilling again, and so I plan to be extremely active talking about it with Peter where I can, because this is my silver vehicle and I love silver. I love it for its ability to perform. What really took us on Curibaya is what Peter said. It's a tremendous belt that has both porphyries and precious metal targets. And we were amazed by 70 plus samples running from a kilo to 300 kilo silver in veins, thin veins, and we've drilled, a third of our holes hit plus kilo over a meter and a half. And it started to show us where we were in the system. And so you mentioned Cumbaya, which we believe is the preferred zonation or melting point where the silver would accumulate or come out. And what we're really trying to do is find the source of a 20 square kilometer, extremely rich silver endowed in veins, silver system. And then we also have obviously the chances for major porphyries. But I really, really am curious, and I'm really keen on the potential at Cumbaya because it has some of our widest trenches, our best grades over widths. And we think what we didn't quite see in the other drilling lower in the system is we think that Cumbaya could host that in several places. And, learning a lot about the silver business since we've been here, understanding how well it can perform when it's on or how discounted you'll trade at when silver's off. I think that's one thing, but the grade at Curibaya of silver in so many different veins, so many different samples, it gives us what's called a metal budget. It tells us there's a very powerful system, a very rich amount of silver was going, and there's no guarantee. I'm not going to set expectations that we're going to drill, 10 kilo or 20 kilo over ridiculous meters, but there could be surprises. It does have that lottery type of potential that you could hit some incredible grades over widths because the grade is already present. And when we look at projects, copper, gold, or silver, which are the three metals that I've become very comfortable with, tonnage is obviously very key, but grade is the hardest thing. You can't add grade to a project if it's not there. The risk is really high. So we're starting with grade here, and we're looking for tonnage on one of the world's more prolific belts. The team has been busy behind the scenes, and there's been further learning, further sampling, and we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about Cumbaya. We've learned a lot about the porphyry potential. But the only thing I'll say, Johan, is this is the first third of the entire property, and the amount of attention we get from companies, both precious and base metals, for this address, it's invigorating. And for me, it's exciting, but it gets muted when your share price is down. I own more shares today than when I spoke to you last in an interview, and I haven't bought a tremendous amount because my portfolio is predominantly mining it and hasn't performed like anyone else's. But we are committed here. We are committed to go for it. And I think as we get closer to drilling, I think you'll feel the energy back, and you'll remember why we traded at a 200 plus million market cap, in the first run of drilling. The prize that we could deliver here is so high, as is the risk. But I personally love risk. We could go a few more rounds before we find it. But right now, the geology is telling us it's a must drill project. And every company we've shown it to, and other investors and analysts that have seen it, it's a must drill for the silver and must drill for the copper potential. But it is my silver vehicle, and I believe strongly in the silver market that's coming.
Let me just shortly come back to that copper potential, because I find that really interesting when I look at this map in your presentation. I mean, to drill for the silver and let's call it the gold target, that is absolutely for sure, no doubt. But how would it work to have a look onto the copper porphyry potential? Can you do that already with that drill program, or would that require, let's say, a deeper drill program? Is that a different type of drilling? How would that work?
I've got some feedback there. I can start, and Peter, you can finish. We've developed some really good evidence that there could be a porphyry there. We've got some great indications, and yes, it would be not as deep as everyone would assume. So there's potential, but we're finding outside of the area we sampled, we're starting to see pretty good grade of copper being outcropping peripheral to the precious metal system that we've identified. So I'd classify it as this is going to be a very strong silver story first from my perspective, and we're going to develop those porphyry targets. We would be able to drill them later, but in the first half of what we want to do here, it's all about the silver. And we're going to learn more. We're going to supply a lot more information to the market as we expand our footprint and start to identify those copper targets. You could drill it today, but we like the probability in the silver first, and we're still learning a bit more on the copper. And we want to make sure when we go for that copper swing, we have the right footprint. And right now, it looks like there's more to sample. There's more to expand on the copper side. but it's definitely got a shot right now, a very good shot.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, copper, silver, and gold are those metals of desire, I would call it, aside of the battery metals. That is for sure. So you are definitely in the right location, right country, elephant territory, and with the right metals. That's also for sure. If I look also at let's say at your neighbors, so I assume the infrastructure is also not so bad, right?
It's and it's a fantastic setup. So down south in Peru, this is Atacama Desert region, foothills of the Andes. Our geologists say ocean view, elevation. Where a lot of projects you might find that golden jewel, but it's 5,000 meters into the sky, and making something work in that territory doesn't work. We're 1,900 meters up to 2,400 meters maximum on our property. So for me, it's tough to walk around. I start getting short of breath, but for geologists in Peru, it's nothing. It's essentially sea level, right? So if you think about for our North American investors as well, it's like going to Denver, and you feel it for a little bit and then it's gone. But it's so amenable. We have a 45-minute drive off the Pan American Highway. We're an hour and a half out of a city of 300,000 people in the international airport. We have hydroelectric station 10 kilometers to our north. 2 deep water ports just on the coast that service all of those giants to our northwest. It is a fantastic setup. Most importantly, as we know with every resource company worldwide, the heart lies in the community. We have one community that's on board, true partners with us. So we're not stuck in a position where we have headwinds with them. There's no agriculture, there's no residences, and there's no archaeology or anything that's going to impede on us further exploring and hurting the environment. So we live very little footprint as an exploration company. So really, it's a perfect setup to where we're located to find something massive.
Okay. As I saw also on your map, it's 16,800 hectares. So that's quite a large piece of land, I would say. So what have you checked out so far? What is unexplored? Meaning, where do we have a lot more potential?
Yeah, this property is big, and we have to watch out for our bandwidth too, because it's one of these scenarios where you start looking over there, you're like, oh, what's that? We got to go chase there. Like, hold on, we can't spread ourselves too thin. Let's focus on Curibaya, let's focus on Kembaya, and let's go. But we do have other precious metals and copper targets that are poking their heads out on our property as well that we need to spend some more time. We have so much to work on at Curibaya, but we just got to make sure we don't spread ourselves too thin, and we're really honing on what we have right now.
Yeah, the good news on the property is we own it. We don't have an option deal, so the carrying cost of it is just the claim renewal costs, which are reasonable. So, I think this has got a lot of time left to explore on the silver and certainly on the copper. There's a lot of things, as Peter said, that we haven't followed up on because we want to keep our focus. And I think focus is a key word here, especially through times when money's expensive and whatnot. So we're being very, very strategic, and the quietness that you haven't heard from us, we've been strategizing of how we're going to go the next step here and see if we can get the discovery we're looking for and take it to the next level.
Okay, super. Before we start to talk shortly about silver, I would love to touch also briefly on the Hurricane project, which is the second option, I would call it. You have obviously a bit more far away from drilling because it takes a bit longer there. But can you comment 2-3 sentences on Hurricane, because you also had fantastic results so far, right?
Yeah, talk about an amazing secondary project to have in your basket. So when, again, much like Curibaya, you go there for the silver remains the focus, but this base metal battery metal story kind of emerges. So the more community access we got up at Hurricane over the last year and a half, the more we uncovered and said, oh, what do we come across here? The most fascinating part about Hurricane, I would say, is not only does it have areas that have silver veins outcropping on surface for 4 kilometers in length that allow us to focus on the silver if we wish, but it also has these other assets that are just 20, 30 kilometers away that appears to be, and from what our geologists know, the only known copper nickel deposit ever really found in Peru. And when we talk with majors, it's a real head scratcher for them, because these are assets that you normally find in Brazil or in Russia. It's these horizontal sills that can span for kilometers in length and provide 100+ year mine life. So super intriguing for us. That's how we're treating it, as an intriguing project going forward. We're going to put resources there when we feel it's necessary to. But again, it remains a big project, just 30,000 hectares in a completely different area of Peru, with a little less access to it. So we want to make sure that we're spending our bandwidth properly. And again, our passion is the silver. Our passion is Curibaya. It's the one that's closest to going. It's the one that we've had a drill program ourselves already, not relying on previous drill results. So it's the one that's on our table in front of us right now.
Okay, super. One question in between: how is it to work these days in Peru?
Actually, great. And we, regardless of what has occurred within the government of Peru and the social unrest in Peru over the last year, because we weather it. And the biggest thing that I'm faced with as a CEO is the perception, right? You read in the media, you see some social unrest, and I'm not trying to downplay the problem that they have there. For sure, their president got ousted. The vice president took over the reins. There were some unhappy people, but once you really dig into how it operates in Peru, there's outside influences from other countries that really wanted to, stick their hand into Peru's issues and create these problems. So when you have protesters in the street getting paid $35, $40 a day to be there and throw rocks at the authorities, eventually, that money runs dry. And as our geologist, Christian Rios, who lives in Peru and has seen these things many, many times, said, Peter, give it a few weeks, watch, the money will run out. Sure enough, here we are. Everything is back to operations. There's no more blockades. There's no more anything in the media. You Google Peru, social unrest, there's nothing coming up. It was something that was really concentrated on the eastern border of Peru next to Bolivia. Small, illegal miners were creating a lot of the unrest, and a lot less where we were. So we actually had no problems during that entire period. And now that it's back open, all it does is kind of relieves a little bit of pressure on me, because it's not in the headlines anymore, and it's not a question that I get on a daily basis anymore. And so now when you're looking globally, Peru's a fantastic place to operate. Again, we're not employing 3,000-4,000 people. We're not producing. We're not providing the country with massive taxes and royalties. We're an exploration company, so we always fly under the radar. And we're fully permitted. So it's not like the government or any unrest in certain areas of the country has caused any headwinds for us. So much ado about nothing for us. Of course, I have to address it, but a fantastic place to operate. And our community, of course, is eager for us to get back to work.
And just a few key points from me on Peru. Johan, I've been there financing and working with companies since 2016, 7 years. And I believe there's been 6 presidents, but we've never seen Peru lose its world stage and its production of copper, silver, gold. They've held it without issue. There's been some shutdowns at mines such as Las Bambas back and forth. That's isolated to that mine and those communities. But for the most part, it's been business as usual. So I think, I'm a veteran enough of almost 2/3 of a decade having been in country. And I think that is where the comfort comes. If this was our first day in Peru, it would be hard to take us at face value for that. Not only have I bought more Tier 1 silver, which is in Peru, I've also written a pretty decent sized check into Copernico recently in terms of my confidence that Peru is going to be one of the most opportunistic places to go make those huge discoveries that everyone's talking about. The last point is something that I've measured my entire career, which I learned early on from a mentor. If majors are in country, your possibility for governments being somewhat sorted or not shooting themselves in the foot with the mining sector is quite a bit lower risk in that sense. And not only do we see majors in country, but both of our companies have experienced recently, as recent as now, like this last month, a lot of interest from major mining companies on our projects. So they're a great measure. They're staying in country. They're going for more. They know this is where endowment is. We are turning the tide in terms of metal prices, which is going to be outstanding for everyone. We are massive supporters of the people in the communities. We are there to help everyone, all the stakeholders with our presence. We want to see them benefit from us being there And we're very proud of what we've done with the communities in Peru. And so I don't see it as a substantial risk. I agree with Peter. I think there is, a good story gets pushed across tabloids and it sounds a lot scarier than it is, but none of our employees, none of our personnel have had issue in Peru through all of this. It's not Canada, it's not the US, but it is a place where some of the largest mines we think are going to continue to be found. They currently have been found and are operating. And we think the country has that realization in their GDP and they're going to protect that. And, maybe there's a bit of fight over who benefits on the metals and what comes in. And that would be very common with a lot of countries, with resource-rich countries around the world. And you're going to see it from time to time. But 7 years, 6 presidents, our mines are still operating and it's still meeting the thresholds of the top 5 or 6 mines or producers of commodities in the world, such as gold, silver, and copper. So I think that's going to maintain. I think they're very smart financially to keep that in good order. And I think there's going to be times of pinching and squeezing and negotiating, but we're very excited to be there. And I'm writing checks in the last few months in Peru.
All right, super. Maybe just one last question. You might answer that shortly, Ivan. As you said, Tier 1 Silver is your silver investment. So what's your short-term view on silver? Why do you love it so much?
Well, silver, again, it's the best performing equity, better than gold, better than copper, better than anything, if you have it and the price is performing. And we saw that when Tier 1 came to market, how well it does. The appeal to silver is the ratio to gold. The potential percentage of price performance can be outstanding from silver. It can double or triple or go up 10 times from where it is. And that gives exponential potential return for investors if there's a prominent silver discovery. But most importantly, the thing that's got me really keen on silver is the supply and demand is becoming an issue. There's a massive supply issue, much like copper, nickel, a lot of the base metals. It falls into that with the silver and solar panels, which is tremendous. So you're now adding a supply crunch to one of the most explosive potential returning commodities out there, where the equities, juniors and above, tend to trade at incredible premiums when it's there. My view is over $30 an ounce by the end of the year. It could happen a lot sooner. And my long-term view is it could easily go back to $40, $50 an ounce or much, much higher and pass new highs, as I see gold is on the edge of doing as we speak today. So I think there's a big lag in silver. I think there's a huge lag in silver equities. They kind of sit in the category of they're either really off or they're really on. In the middle doesn't do well. And I think we're just passing the middle going towards being really on. Unanimous views around industry is that silver could be a tremendous performer. And I'm very comfortable with the outlook, both short and long term.
Fantastic. Great final sentence. And definitely Tier 1 Silver is a company which should be considered. And that's why I'm a shareholder too. Great. Ivan, Peter, thank you very much for your time. That was a great over 20-minute interview, but it was really needed. And I would suggest you guys let the drills turn and feed us very soon with fantastic, hopefully, drill results.
Thank you.
Super. Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Peter Dembicki, the CEO of Tier 1 Silver, and also Ivan Bebek, co-founder and chair of Tier 1 Silver. Yeah, you heard it. A great silver gold exploration project with porphyry copper style targets and possibilities at Curibaya, but also with the Hurricane project in the backyard that looks really fantastic. The drills will start to turn very, very soon, and we look really forward to hopefully even more exciting silver and gold results. You should really check out the company. I'm a shareholder already. At those low prices, that is a bargain. You really should make sure you get some. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.